Let's jump right into this. Welcome to this explainer where we are going to dive deep into the psychological mechanics of why highly capable employees just suddenly check out. To do this, we're using Victor Vroom's expectancy theory. It's this absolutely groundbreaking framework from 1964 that honestly completely changed how we look at human effort in the workplace. We aren't going to look at motivation today as some mystical, mysterious force. Instead, we're looking at it as a highly specific diagnostic equation.
Because, we've all seen it happen. A star performer, someone with an amazing track record and obvious talent, just totally loses their drive. They start doing the absolute bare minimum. And the big question is, how do we systematically diagnose this workplace apathy? Usually managers just assume, oh, the employee got lazy, or maybe they just think a quick pep talk will fix it. But as we'll see today, the root cause is almost always a breakdown in a very specific cognitive chain. Okay, here's our roadmap to unpack all of this. We'll start with the motivation mystery, move into Vroom's multiplicative formula, break down its core components, explore the bottleneck logic, address a few criticisms, and finally, cover some practical takeaways for managers. Let's get going. Section 1. The motivation mystery. We really need to begin by throwing out the idea that motivation is just some innate personality trait. For the longest time, management literally thought you were either a motivated person or you weren't. But modern organizational behavior tells an entirely different story. We look at what are called process theories. Rather than looking at what needs we have, like Maslow's hierarchy, for example, process theories explore the exact cognitive steps we take when deciding whether or not to actually put in effort. It's all about the mental calculation of expected consequences. Basically, if I do X, will Y actually happen? Section 2. Vroom's multiplicative formula. Let's see how this all builds into Victor Vroom's 1964 framework. He took this idea of mental calculation and turned it into an incredibly elegant three-part system that is still used in boardrooms everywhere today. And this perfectly illustrates the core architecture. It's a mental chain linking effort to performance and performance to eventual rewards. Think of it like a bridge with three distinct sections. If an employee is going to actually cross that bridge and deliver high motivation, they have to absolutely believe that their effort leads to performance, and that their performance will, without a doubt, trigger a reward. Section 3. Breaking down the components. To really wrap our heads around this, let's translate Vroom's academic pillars into the literal internal monologue questions your employees are asking themselves every single day. The very first question is simply, can I actually do this? Before anyone lifts a finger, they have to believe in their own capability to successfully complete the task. This right here is expectancy. It's all about self-efficacy and actually having the right tools for the job. So, for example, imagine a corporate customer service rep. Their job security relies heavily on getting 5-star reviews. They are going to put in extra effort, but only if they believe they actually have the training, the software, and the time to provide that excellent service. If the phone lines are constantly dropping, well, their expectancy just tanks, because no amount of personal effort can overcome a completely broken system, right?
Now, what's really fascinating here is the trust factor. Once an employee knows they can perform, the very next question is, will my performance actually be recognized and rewarded by the company?
This is instrumentality. Think about a salesperson out there hustling because they firmly believe that generating more sales will directly result in a higher commission. That's high instrumentality. But say that salesperson has a manager who constantly moves the goalposts, or the company suddenly caps commissions for no good reason. The link between performance and reward is instantly severed. If they think the game is rigged, instrumentality is destroyed, and poof, the motivation vanishes. The final piece of this internal monologue tackles the actual value of the outcome. Okay, so you know you can do the job, and you trust the company will hand over the reward, but do you actually even want what they're offering? This is Valence, and it is highly, highly subjective. Take a software engineer pushing hard to innovate specifically because they deeply desire a promotion and a higher salary. For them, Valence is super high and positive. But what if that promotion actually means 80-hour work weeks and endless mind-numbing management meetings, and what they really value is work-life balance? In that case, the valence might be 0. It could even be negative. They might actively avoid performing too well just so they don't get rewarded with a job they'd absolutely hate.
Section 4. The bottleneck logic.
So the real magic is how these three components, expectancy, instrumentality, and valence, interact to create the overall motivational force. Vroom's theory doesn't add these factors up, it multiplies them. Overall motivation is a product, not a sum. Force equals expectancy times instrumentality times valence. And that math creates this incredibly powerful bottleneck logic. Literally, if an employee's belief in any single category reaches zero, the entire motivational output instantly collapses to zero. Think about it. You can offer a massive $1 million bonus that everyone wants, so high valence, and promise it with total transparency, high instrumentality. But if the goal is physically impossible to achieve, expectancy is zero. 1 times 1 times 0 is 0. The motivation is totally flatlined. Throwing more money at an expectancy problem, it's going to yield absolutely zero results.
Section 5. Criticisms and limitations. Now, no theory is perfect, right? To fully utilize this tool, we have to look at its limitations. Critics often point to what's called the rational calculator bias. They correctly point out that humans just don't perfectly calculate every single expectancy and instrumentality before taking action. The theory assumes a very individualistic, highly calculated cognitive mindset. But in human reality, are often driven by complex social factors, intrinsic joy, or just sudden bursts of inspiration that completely bypass this neat little equation.
Honestly, Vroom himself acknowledged this back in 2003. He basically said the theory shouldn't be treated as a perfect real-time mirror of a person's consciousness. We aren't robots running math formulas in our heads every time we answer a Slack message. Instead, he argued it's a diagnostic tool for management. It's an analytical framework to help formulate the right questions, not an exact replica of human thought.
Section 6. Takeaways for managers.
Let's bring this all together into a practical prescription for leadership. Once you grasp this bottleneck logic, you really have to change your approach. Instead of just demanding more motivation from your team or throwing generic, uninspired pizza parties, use this framework as an X-ray. Diagnose exactly which link is broken. If it's low expectancy, target your intervention right there. Provide better training, clear the roadblocks, get them the software they need. If it's low instrumentality, fix your compensation structure so it is actually transparent and fair. And if it's low valence, sit down, talk to your employee, and find out what they actually value. Maybe they just want extra time off, not a cash bonus.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought to investigate within your own workplace. Stop trying to boost overall motivation blindly. Find the specific zero in the equation, fix it, and watch the entire system come back to life. So, what is the bottleneck holding your team back today? Thanks for joining me. Keep analyzing and keep learning.